students, welcome back to KapMan Academy, and today we are going to talk about another physical barriers which play a very important role in the non-specific immunity, and that is your mucous membrane. So as you can see here in the image, mucous membrane, it's like a slimy layer which is present above your cells, right? So this layer is actually present in eyes, in the respiratory system, in the digestive system, and in the urogenital system, right? And this one is actually have the capability to withstand any type of microbial invasion. Microbial invasion. Why? Because it has intact stratified squamous epithelium and various type of mucus secretions. Mucus secretions, right? So as you can see here in the image, it actually forms a protective layer. It forms a protective layer surrounding the tissue and resist the penetration of the pathogenic microbes by trapping them here, right? So these mucosal surfaces, they are actually rich in different type of antimicrobial secretions, right? And these mucosal surfaces, they could be number one, your cervical fluid, second, prostatic fluid, and third, the common one, your tears. So they all contain these antimicrobial secretions which contain the molecules which are actually toxic for bacterial cells. Toxic for the bacterial cells, or you can say the foreign substances, right? So one of the antimicrobial substance which is present in the secretions is your number one, the common one, which is known as lysozyme. As we already know, lysozyme is actually attack the layer of the outer cell wall layer of the bacteria and kill them, right? Another type of the molecule which is being secreted from the mucosal secretions is known as lactoferrin. And it actually a iron binding protein, which actually it is a iron binding protein which actually sequesters the iron and prevents the growth of microbes. Other than that, these secretions also contain lactose peroxides, which actually catalyzes the production of superoxide radicals, which are actually toxic for the bacterial membranes, right? But in some point, as like skin, some point the antigen actually anyhow manages to penetrate this mucosal membrane and enters into the cells which are within the mucous membrane, which are present which are present below the mucous membrane, right? So these are called immune barrier cells. These are called immune barrier cells. So now I am talking about the cells which are present beneath the mucous membrane. Mucous membrane, we already discussed about it, what it contains. It contains different type of secretions. So these specialized cells which are actually present beneath the mucous membrane, they are known as MART, or you can say the mucus associated lymphoid tissue, which is actually is categorized into two forms. First is known as GALT, which is known as gut associated lymphoid tissue, and second one is known as BALT, which is your bronchial associated lymphoid tissue. Right? So if we talk about the gut associated lymphoid tissue, which is mostly studied, so it actually includes tonsils, adenoids, pear patches, pear patches, which are actually present in the intestine, and different type of diffused lymphoid area along the gut membrane. Right? So if we talk about the MALT system, so it actually contain different type of specialized cell. So now we are talking about the MALT again here generally. So in that case, this MALT system, it actually, if the antigen is penetrating the mucosal membrane, then it actually encounters the specialized type of cells which are known as M cells, right? And these M cells, they do not have any brush-like system. They do not have any brush-like system or any type of microvilli, right? But it has, as you can see here, these M cells, they have large pockets like this one, right? So these pockets actually, they contain B cell, T cell, or the macrophages. So these M cells actually, they endocytose the antigen. They actually allow the antigen to enter into the M cell and then deliver them into these pockets where these B cell, T cells and macrophages are present. They actually phagocytose this antigen and then kill them, right? So sometimes these M cells, they also deliver the antigen to an organized lymphoid tissue. It also delivers the cell to the organized lymphoid tissue, which is actually present beneath these M cells, right? And these pockets contain a follicle type of organized lymphoid tissue, which is rich in B cells, right? So these B cells actually, they get mature into plasma plasma cells, and then these plasma cells, they produce specialized antibodies, which is IgA. And then these antibodies, they were actually secreted from the tissue to the gut area here. So these are called secretory IgA, right? So this is secreted by the lymphoid follicle, which is actually present beneath the cells, right? Which leads to the activation of the plasma cells and production of the antibodies, which are known as secretory immunoglobulin A. So these immunoglobulins, they actually enters into the gut where they actually again interact with the antigen and leads to its neutralization, right? So this is all about the mucous membrane and the mucosal associated cells, which actually leads to the neutralization of the antigens, right? So if we revise it again, then your mucous membrane, it contains certain type of secretions which are actually toxic for the foreign substances. So if anyhow antigen actually penetrate this mucous membrane, then it encounters some specialized cells such as M cell, which contains certain type of pockets, and in those pockets your B cell, T cells or your macrophages are present, right? Where these antigens are phagocytosed by the macrophages and then digested, right? But sometimes there are certain type of organized follicles are present which are rich in the B cells, and these B cells leads to the production of IgA, and these IgA, they were actually secreted from from this surface tissue fluid into the gut, and here they actually interact with the antigen and again helps in the neutralization of the antigens, right? So this is all about the mucous membrane and the mucous associated lymphoid tissue. So that's all for the today. Thank you.